Tonight on 7 News, the crowning moment of the royal tour. The King and Queen hold court at the Opera House before thousands of adoring subjects, and a harbour cruise for the tourist everyone wanted to see.
Sydney sizzles for the royals, delivering an overdose of Aussie hospitality.
I'm so delighted to be here in Parramatta.
A hug, sheepdogs and a parrot. It's as Australian as it comes.
Our West at its best, bursting with culture and excitement.
I felt like my heart was pumping a lot.
Every moment a special memory for someone.
Also tonight, an innocent man killed at St Mary's on his way to work by a driver who was trying to escape police.
Exclusive, why riding the new metro could be about to cost more than planned to increase fares.
And high drama ahead of the Cox Plate, why a light run this morning ended like this for one of the favourites.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson and Angela Cox.
Good evening. Sydney has saved the best till last. The King and Queen greeted beside a sparkling harbour and met by huge crowds at the Opera House.
The royal couple has just finished a packed schedule from the city to Parramatta, meeting kids, community leaders, even sheepdogs. Our team has everything covered with Chief Reporter Chris Reason leading us off.
At the Opera House, a standing ovation for the King and Queen on the final day of their quick hit tour.
I just thanked her for bringing joy and happiness into my King's life, and she said thank you.
This farewell moment couldn't stand in more stark contrast to their Majesty's low-key arrival 5 days ago in pouring rain.
Standing here for hours.
Everything's perfect to see you guys.
He was just seemed so nice and smiley.
Given a flyover farewell. With Charles and Camilla conducting a naval fleet review, the King this week was made an honorary admiral of the Australian fleet. Today, he got to inspect the collection of frigates, mine hunters and destroyers, knowing all of them bore his title, HMAS, His Majesty's Australian ships. The last sovereign to tour the Opera House is Mother the Queen, 2006. Far more controlled, no crowd interaction. This monarch doing things differently. King Charles had started his day by swapping the crown for a hard hat, giving some high vis to sustainable housing issues. Hey! And jobs for youth, like this plumbing apprentice. Then, from construction to cancer, the Melanoma Institute. Welcomed by Australians of the Year Georgina Long and Richard Scolyer, with their world-first work for cancer cures.
Adam is what we call one of our long-term survivors.
From the King, whose own cancer therapy is on hold on tour.
And the treatment isn't too bad, is it?
Understated and understanding. He said very little, but that seemed to say a lot. He was given the Sunsmart message.
Slip, slop, slap.
And an Akubra as well.
Broad-brimmed hat.
The Queen's first stop today, brunch, but she helped to make it first, wearing an apron for food rescue charity Oz Harvest.
So what's the favourite? Food-wise? Yeah. Oh, that's a hard question.
Today's favourite, recycled supermarket salad leftovers.
This is life-changing lemonade.
They gifted her a tiny teaspoon with crown and name engraved, then dubbed Her Highness
The most prestigious member of the Order of the Teaspoon.
before Her Majesty flew off a meeting with Pierre and his pet parrot, Caesar. Better behaved than the sneezing alpaca yesterday.
Give me a kiss.
Good boy, that's better.
Then booked in to visit Green Square Library, promoting literacy.
But then if you like to read something to me, I'd love to hear your story.
Meeting celebrated author and Republican movement founder Thomas Keneally with a host of Australian writers.
What do you write about?
Then awarding prizes for the oldest essay competition in the world. But the biggest applause today, of course, was for the royal couple at Sydney's crown jewel, right beside the harbour. With such a short trip and so few chances to see them, the Opera House moment was always going to be a sellout show. And after yesterday's protests, it's almost as if Australians had rallied to offer their support. The King at 75, the Queen at 77, proving the royal touch still makes a mark in the great southern realm.
Let's go back to Chris Reason at the Opera House. Chris, with the action on the harbour now wrapped up, where are the King and Queen tonight?
Well, once that fleet review had finished, Mark, the royal couple headed home. By how else but by sea? They took the Navy's royal yacht, the Hudson, across to the harbourside home of Admiralty House. It has been a very busy schedule for the royal couple, and they've been hitting all of their passion projects: science, sustainability, environment, education, service and sacrifice, among others. 27 engagements in 3 days and 2 cities. But by far, according to the thousands of people here today, this at the Opera House was their crowning achievement.
Chris Reason, thank you. The royal couple earlier visited Parramatta for an Aussie barbecue, complete with sheep, snags and a turn on the tongs. Annie Puller is at Parramatta Park. Annie, how did they seem?
And the royal couple seem to be incredibly delighted by the display here. From backyard cricket to snags on the barbecue, Their Majesties certainly walked away with a true sense of community spirit, even taking home some Australian delicacies. A backyard bonanza fit for a king and queen. Welcomed with an ancient custom before a floral crowning, Western Sydney style. Parramatta's time to play host, and they did in a true blue Australian way. Taking centre stage, work dogs Colt and Meg. But it was the sheep that caused the biggest stir.
The sheep coming around and then they start circling around the media.
The royal couple couldn't help crack a smile as Colt brought order back to the flock.
And he was actually able to pat the sheep. The dog was standing there to pat the dog.
A taste of life down under.
How are the sausages?
Our local heroes ditching the togs for tools, putting King Charles to the test. Our local heroes, Sydney Surf Lifesavers, were supposed to serve up the perfect royal snag, but it seems the King and Queen wanted to get behind the barbecue themselves. But a taste wasn't on the cards.
If nothing else, they've learned how to turn the tongs in the exact way.
The monarch also walking away with a national icon.
I told him we'd keep him safe if he ever came down to Coogee.
Rare moments in the crowd too.
He's my hero. I can't say much.
Not the only one left speechless.
I felt like my heart was pumping a lot.
Among the 700 invited guests, community leaders, volunteers, charity workers, sports stars and celebrities. And ordinary Australians doing incredible things, including Inspector Amy Scott, who tracked down, confronted and fatally shot the Westfield Bondi Junction attacker. Then one last formality, a few words from a very grateful visitor.
It's a particular delight to see and smell all the top tucker here today.
Walking away with a royal wave to mark the end, Parramatta's hour with the King was over. A historical day they will never forget. Annie Puller, 7 News.
Her outburst at the King and Queen's Canberra reception saw Lydia Thorpe make world headlines, many arguing for all the wrong reasons. Anthony Albanese stopped short of calling for the controversial senator to resign. Today, the King enjoyed a much friendlier reception.
At the Indigenous Centre for Excellence in Sydney's Redfern, a warm embrace. After yesterday's moment of disgrace.
Give us what you stole from us! Our bones, our skulls, our babies!
This woman, a member of the stolen generation, today stealing a heart.
Welcome to this country. Thank you.
Treated to a cultural performance inside and another outside.
No pride in genocide!
Behind the majority cheers, some jeers. Echoing Senator Lydia Thorpe's protest in Parliament. Big news in Britain.
And the King came face to face in Australia with long-standing anger.
Indigenous Senator Lydia Thorpe shouted anti-colonial slogans.
Telling London's Sky News.
I did it for truth-telling. Global truth-telling.
British Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer calling the King an incredible ambassador doing fantastic work. In a statement, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called Lydia Thorpe's actions disrespectful, but there's very little chance of any action being taken against her here.
I think there's a very strong argument for somebody who doesn't believe in the system but's willing to take $250,000 a year from the system to resign in principle.
But she won't, and the government can't force her.
I think it's up to Senator Thorpe to reflect on her actions.
Really what Lydia does is really a matter for her.
And what does she think?
I'm not fussed about what people say about me. I will continue to fight for justice for my people.
As Black Sovereign ally Wayne Coco Wharton is arrested at the Opera House.
You criminals! You criminals!
Threatening to hand the King an International Criminal Court notice for genocide. Lydia Thorpe will see this as a victory. She got what she wanted. People here and in Britain talking about Aboriginal sovereignty, and at no real cost to her. She won't be thrown out, probably not even censured. Not that that would make much of a difference anyway. The parties have made the rules intentionally weak, so they can't be used against them. The Parliament exposed yet again as a mutual protection society.
OK, thank you. Mark Riley in Canberra. Police are hunting a masked vandal who sprayed red paint on the Queen Victoria statue outside the QVB overnight. The statue was quickly cleaned this morning, but passers-by were not impressed.
Get a job, stop being miserable, right? Maybe be a bit hospitable.
Detectives want to hear from anyone who can help identify the offender.
Let's go live to Paul Caddick now, who's also at the Opera House. Paul, soon it's on to the next leg of the tour for the King and Queen.
Mark, that's right. The King and the Queen taking the waterway back to Admiralty House across the harbour, where they're probably going to need a rest tonight after today's cracking pace before tomorrow begins the next important leg of this overseas trip. Their Majesties will be flying out of Sydney to Samoa, travelling there for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, or CHOGM. It'll be Charles's first as King. He'll be joined by leaders and officials from more than 50 different Commonwealth nations. The fight against climate change will be top of the agenda, an issue King Charles has championed publicly for many years. They're also set to discuss global security and the rising challenge of China. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla has plans to visit a traditional Samoan school and an event focused on ending violence against women. Like this visit to Australia, the trip to Samoa has been shortened due to the King's health. The royal couple are expected to return home at the end of the week.
OK, Paul Caddick at the Opera House, thank you. An innocent man has been killed on his way to work when his car was hit by a driver allegedly speeding away from police in Sydney's west. Officers had activated their lights and sirens just before the crash, but insist there was no chase.
A family faces unfathomable news. A father killed in a crash after being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
This is a tragedy beyond belief.
The 49-year-old was off to work at 4 a.m. when his hatchback was hit by a sedan, its driver allegedly trying to escape police.
He was disqualified at the time. The driver is known to us.
Officers first spotted the sedan acting suspiciously on Sainsbury Street, following as it sped off. Onto Mamre Road, then the Great Western Highway. Police lights activated to safely go through the intersection. But by the time they arrived at Glossop Street, it was too late.
Their next vision as they came up the crest of the Great Western Highway was seeing that vehicle involved in the incident.
Police say the 43-year-old then ran off.
The guy that came in my backyard, tried to hide.
I come out and there was just coppers, 15 coppers, looking for somebody.
They arrested him nearby.
The Great Western Highway has been closed for most of the day as investigators thoroughly examine the scene. The actions of police are also under review. The crash declared a critical incident.
At no stage was that police vehicle in pursuit of that car.
Bill Hogan, 7 News.
A man has been seriously injured in a frenzied stabbing attack at a Marylands car park. The 23-year-old was ambushed by a gang of 5 people while sitting in his car around 2 a.m, suffering stab wounds to his hand, shoulder, chest and thigh. He was taken to Westmead Hospital as police hunt his attackers.
7 News has obtained shocking video of the moment police opened fire following a violent home invasion in Sydney's west earlier this month. Let's go live to Grace Fitzgibbon. Grace, what more can you tell us?
Well, it's not often you'll see police fire shots in the middle of a suburban Sydney street, but that is exactly what this security video captured in Gregory Hills last night. Armed police can be seen chasing down a man, then the distinct sound of gunshots, although it's unclear what type of ammunition was being used. It's alleged the man was one of 5 who had forced entry into a Casula home armed with pistols and a shotgun in the early hours of October 8. They allegedly threatened the residents and tied 2 of them up before escaping with jewellery and cash. Today, 2 of the men allegedly involved in that home invasion faced court, charged with a string of offences. They were both refused bail.
OK, thank you, Grace. A $500,000 reward has been announced as police try to work out how a woman wound up dead beside a dam in the Blue Mountains. Cecilia Devine's family has always believed someone killed her, and today the coroner found that couldn't be ruled out.
For 6 years, Kathleen Pearson has been fighting to find out what happened to her daughter.
I would like to know someone has done this to her, and I've always said that.
Now police have announced a $500,000 reward to answer how Cecilia Devine died and whether anyone was involved.
$500,000 to try and motivate somebody to provide that information.
From now on, I'll be strong. The 41-year-old singer lived and loved music.
Music and laughter together were just exactly what I needed.
She vanished in suspicious circumstances in 2018. This, the last known video of her leaving a hotel in the Blue Mountains. Her naked body found 6 months later beside a dam 3 kilometres away. Today's reward announced hours after the coroner found there wasn't enough evidence to find whether the manner of her death was misadventure or homicide.
We hope that this reward encourages anyone with information to come forward.
The coroner described it as regrettable that it took police 6 months to request security videos from around the area where Cecilia went missing, by which time much of it had been automatically deleted.
We don't exactly know what's happened to Cecilia, so nothing, I guess, for us is off the table.
Andrew Denny, 7 News.
The state government is riding a public transport bonanza right now. Revenue up $300 million on last year to $1.5 billion.
And 7 News can reveal exclusively tonight that fares could be about to rise even further, especially on the metro.
Tapping on to public transport, tapping into a serious revenue stream.
I don't know how much I pay.
7 News has uncovered just how much commuters have spent. Across all modes of transport, more than $1.5 billion last financial year, up dramatically. Metro incredibly popular, making almost $5 million in fares a month. Transport costing taxpayers much more.
Here in New South Wales, the fare box only recovers about 20 to 25% of the cost of running public transport services.
Would you pay more to use the Metro?
Possibly.
The government has given the confidential data we've obtained to the Independent Pricing Tribunal. Fare increases are being considered.
Fares should be kept as low as possible in the middle of a cost of living crisis.
The average Opal fare is currently $4.76. IPART is proposing they rise up to 4.1% for train and metro, and Sydney ferries up to 4%.
We're acutely aware of the pressures on families.
So you can't rule out a fare increase?
We'll take the advice of IPART.
The government will receive that final advice in the coming days, and while fare hikes are likely, we could also see more people eligible for Opal card concessions.
Only 5% of commuters currently get the discounts. Serena Andaloro, 7 News.
Time to check the weather now with Angie Asimus.
Angie, Sydney really turned it on today.
Did, Angela and Mark. It's been glorious today. A picture-perfect scene at Bar Point there on the Hawkesbury. Stunning blue sky and much calmer winds than we've seen over the last couple of days. Those clear conditions and lighter northerlies made for warm temperatures, 23 degrees in the CBD and up to 27 in our west. That is just the start of an approaching hot spell. You'll see inland temperatures have just soared already. 35 degrees at Wilcannia, 32 at Griffith. The sea breeze still moderating conditions on the coast. What's contributing to that is actually a cold front due to cross the state's southeast tomorrow. Ahead of that very warm air filtering across New South Wales. We will feel the effects of that in Sydney tomorrow. Details on how warm it'll be coming up next.
OK, thank you, Angie. Riot police rushed to a Sydney court after the break. A mother's furious response after the shooting death of her teenage son.
Trapped for a month, the community effort to save this cockatoo from Coles.
Divine intervention. Donald Trump claims he was saved by God to be president again.
First look, the major change coming to our airports. Details after sport.
And set for stardom, the Sydney children with eyes on an iconic role.
The Voice Grand Finale is here.
Here are your Voice Grand Finalists.
Who will take the crown? Australia. It's time to vote for the winner.
Annie. Sky. Jaden.
Don't miss the superstar performances by Adam Lambert and Keith Urban. A night of entertainment like no other.
This is it.
The spectacular Voice Grand Finale on 7 and 7 Plus. The must-see event. Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Go get him!
What are you doing?
Reserving an Uber ride for 30 minutes from now.
Why?
442 Diamond winners invert! Box to box for the target man, Billy!
Reserve on Uber.
With Light and Easy, you're eating better and getting great results. It's food that fits your life. It's food that's made for you.
Refined, stylish, and unapologetically desirable. Style like you'd never expect. The new hybrid electric Camry. Toyota.
The state government is denying there's a problem with Sydney traffic, despite commuters now spending...
We'd do anything for our dog. Like giving up the couch. Luckily, protecting them is easy with Simparica Trio, the world's #1 selling all-in-one. Simparica Trio. Protection for dogs. Trusted by dog people.
Ooh, someone's making a meal of it.
Reversing's tricky.
No worries. You're with Budget Direct.
Moneybag's Insurer of the Year. 8 years in a row.
Insurance solved with Budget Direct.
Zimmer latte?
Fresh, natural Zimmel. The easy-to-digest milk.
Welcome back to 7 News. A small bushfire that sprang up at Lansvale in our southwest around lunchtime is tonight contained. 2 fire crews kept watch on the blaze near Bedwell Avenue. It eventually burned itself out. And the huge fire at a Villawood metal recycling centre has been declared safe. Investigators have been searching for the cause of yesterday's blaze, today declaring it was not suspicious.
Riot police have raced to a city court today after the family of a teenager killed in Sydney's West lashed out at the offenders and the prosecutor.
Omar Elamar's mother couldn't be silenced. Furious, murder charges against 4 men have been downgraded.
For the family of Omar Elamar, today was a chance to confront the men involved in his death. There was grief and anger. Sheriffs, prison guards and police rushing to court as the victims and offenders' loved ones exchange words and death threats. Suad Elamar screaming, "Yeah, you put your head down. Your mum called you the children of Christ. You are the Spawn of evil. That's what you are. Evil. She lost her firstborn son when 18-year-old Omar was dragged out of a car and shot in the chest during a fight at a park at Miller in October 2020. The meeting was planned after a brawl between two schoolboys at a shopping centre car park a day earlier. Murder charges were laid against 4 people, but then downgraded. Alonzo Faoli pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Omar Elamar's mother was furious about the plea deal, yelling at the prosecutor in court, saying the DPP should never have accepted anything less than murder. The pain of losing Omar, and especially the way I lost him, is a pain that I can't describe. Every day I wake up with a heavy heart, knowing that my son is no longer with us. Police are now bracing for more angry scenes when the matter returns to court on Thursday. Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
Donald Trump has told faith leaders in storm-ravaged North Carolina God saved him to lead his country back to greatness.
I now recognize that it's been the hand of God leading me to where I am today.
Kamala Harris campaigned with old political rival Liz Cheney in 3 swing states today as the race for the White House enters its final fortnight.
A cockatoo trapped inside a Campbelltown shopping centre for over a month has finally been caught this afternoon. It's believed the bird, nicknamed Mickey, flew in through the loading dock at MacArthur Square. The Premier denied rumours there was an order to kill.
I'm very happy to report that Mickey's been taken off the kill list from the New South Wales Government. We're going to save Mickey. I think Mickey's everyone in Sydney's spirit animal at the moment.
Save Mickey indeed. Mickey will now be released back into the wild.
Australia's new missiles in a wartime arms race. Up next, the $7 billion move to counter Chinese aggression.
An extraordinary car heist caught on camera, 45 vehicles pinched in a matter of hours.
The Aussie brain breakthrough, what it means for Parkinson's and ADHD.
Holiday price battle, $1 million airfares slashed.
And ahead in sport, another horror show for Steve Smith as India draws ever closer.